Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to talk about this exciting topic, tech, and also it's my pleasure to introduce you such a diverse panel. It's a very diverse panel, both from a background point of view and also from a geography point of view. If I may start, Cesar Mejias is from Garrigues. He's based in Madrid, and he's the tech guy in our panel. He's the tech director at Garrigues. Pfeffer is at Lexis Nexis, international sales director. He is based in London. He's originally from the States. Knut-Magnar Aanestad is head of innovation at Kluge, the Norwegian leading firm. And as you have heard, I'm from Theiss. You might hear my pronunciation is not Austrian, so I'm based in Vienna, but originally I'm from Hungary, Budapest. And so what we share is clearly the passion for technology, and especially the passion how technology will and can change how lawyers work and talk to their clients. And I would like to ask first, Cesar, you've been with lawyers, with Garrigues for 20 years now. So you as a tech person, IT director, bring technology to the firm. How easy is that role?
It's not easy. The short answer is it's not easy. Well, I'm the strangest guy here. No? I'm the IT guy. How many IT guys here? None. Okay. How many lawyers apart from Andrea? Well, sorry for... I'm going to say something. Your few. Lawyers tend to think... That's my experience. Eh? Yeah. They tend to think that they are more special than they really are, or more different. They are human beings at the end of the day, and they are very reactive to changes, like all of us. Mm-hmm. Someone in the previous panel has mentioned that the landscape has changed a lot in the last few years. No? In Garrigues, we are now using an old term, a term from the Cold War days, which is BUCA. Anyone knows what does it mean? B for volatility, U for uncertainty, C for complexity, and A for ambiguity. You know?
Ambiguity. Yeah.
That's the real landscape. Yeah. The landscape has changed a lot. There is something that we need, our lawyers need to understand, and they need to accept that the world has changed, and they need to change. And we're trying to do that. We're trying to do that by introducing new technologies and use them. And that's the real challenge. Try to use those technologies because they don't have time. That's the reality. They don't have time. Only they have time to serve our clients, but not to attend training session, not to attend a call from the IT guy. So the real challenge is to use the technology that we're putting in place. And this is our current day-to-day business. No? That's what we're trying to do. Yeah. Difficult task, in a way.
Knut-Magnar, is it the same at Kluge? So how is user acceptance at Kluge, and what do you do to increase it?
Well, I think lawyers are the same all over the world, and there are some lawyer traits, that are quite common, even though they are, different human beings and persons as well. And my experience is that you need to sort of make some kind of mapping of these traits and try to work with them. Those are the challenges in your day-to-day work. What I see is that they are often, the kind of know better people. Not only in their legal work, but also like in marketing and like in tech as well. Some of them at least, and they also, the partnership model with like you said, Harry, you have, I would have like 45 CEOs and CIOs and CBDOs and whatever, they feel entitled to some kind of decision making, to influence any decision. And I think that is something you need also to overcome in the professionality on building the firm. And that's why it was also interesting to see how many have roles that are really up high in the C-suite of the company. How much influence do you really have when you make that kind of decisions? One thing that I feel we have had success with is actually, and what anybody would understand is by showing some kind of success. So if you can get sort of your foot in the door and into some kind of pitch and tell the client what technology can do to their business, what our technology can do in the relationship between us and them, and how the experience of handling their legal issues can be changed through both our legal experts, as we sell them, and technology, enhanced by technology, or even supplied by technology. So I think if you can show the clients that, and the clients show interest in that, that's kind of a language that the lawyers and the partners understand.
Yeah. I think our IT head at Theiss would fully agree that it's a hard job. And also I fully agree that when we demonstrate the success internally, feedback from clients and so on, that's the easy win. But if we go back to bringing in technology, and Harry, you work on a daily basis with law firms around the world who bring in technology. You have seen good and bad examples, good and bad stories from the law firm's point of view. What would you think, or what would you tell us, what is the best approach to pick and bring a new technology to the firm? Where shall law firms start?
Well, it's a little secret that I could share with you, because I've actually been in this business for 40 years, if you can believe it, and working with law firms and lawyers. So
you still look great after 40 years. So it's
Thank you.
Must be a great job.
And long ago, when I was responsible for actually delivering technology, not selling it, into law firms, again, the law firm would do its due diligence to determine what technology will actually enhance the client experience. In other words, I don't think there's any reason that any of your law firms would ever make the investment if they didn't think it would have an impact on increasing business, or at least retaining existing good business, etc. But here's the thing. The world is filled with innovation and technology. And it would be very tempting to go out and get it because you saw a scenario or a case study or whatever where it was proved that this somehow enhanced your ability to have a good relationship with your clients, etc. The problem is, how well do you know how things are actually done now in your firm? As it relates to this potential new innovation. And a lesson I learned many, many years ago when I was delivering technology to firms was we insisted that they write a handbook and document everything that they're doing now in terms of processes, procedures, approval loops, etc., to determine how things get done. Because I'll tell you what the real danger is to go out and get a piece of technology that looks like it's going to solve a problem and find out it doesn't work. And why doesn't it work? Because nobody in the firm works that way. And it's not just a question of change management, etc. It might have been if you had anticipated how much change was required. But without doing that exercise, the lost momentum of investing in technology that doesn't work with the way the firm works today, and then having to push from the bottom up in order to get that innovation to be adopted, is almost a losing battle. So a word you've heard everyone on this panel speak is about strategic vision, laying out a strategy. That's what that handbook is. The handbook is step one. Understand exactly how things operate in your firm today. Then use that as the foundation to build a strategy. Then go out and pick the innovation that would bridge the gap between how you do things today and your strategy.
I think that is a very good summary for the strategy and tech connection, is that technology is an enabler for your strategy. And I think nowadays quite a few firms start with their technology investment at the press release of the competitor. So they bought it, we have to buy it as well. And so you have to start with your own processes and your own issues. Cesar, how do clients come into that picture? Shall we go to a room, close ourselves, and then work on our strategy?
Well, I don't have the good answer for that. I mean, what I know from my business guys and from the marketing guys is that we need to talk to them and, of course, listen what they need and think about new ways of doing business because they are doing business in a different way, which is true. But I fully agree with Harry. I mean, you cannot impose a new way of doing things without changing, without looking at what you're doing right now, and then think about what you want to change, what you want to achieve, and then put in place whatever you need. And clients are the same. I mean, in our case, for example, our clients don't come and say, well, use this or use that, but we try to find the best tools to help them to find those new ways, no? Yeah. And exactly the same thing with the internal procedures. Exactly the same thing. I mean, if you want to give better service to your clients, you have to change the way change the way you do things internally, and find those new ways. That's at least that's our point.
Sometimes I hear from partners that my clients don't ask for it. Yeah. What do you do with that? Shall we just listen and if they ask for it, then we react? What's your experience? Do you do, because you do a lot of innovative things, do you only respond to what clients said, I want this or that?
No, definitely not. And that comes, from the lawyers are usually not very good at putting themselves into their business, into the business of the clients. They see it from a very legal advisory perspective, and thinking that quality means if I make this legal work up to the standard of Supreme Court or something like that, and they miss the thing that it's not quality for the client if it doesn't bring business value. And how do you get lawyers to understand business value? Well, we've had some sessions, and we try to use a methodology that is called design thinking, that has a key element called empathize, and bring that to the lawyers can be kind of challenging. But if you get few of them in a room, and you say, well, we take this process, we're now going to take how we do an M&A transaction, and we're going to break it down, and then we're going to sit down and pretend that you are the CIO or the CEO, and you're going to, put your hands to your head and go, what's bugging me in this process? Why am I not satisfied? And why don't I sleep at night? And stuff like that. And we get partners doing that, and they're kind of enlightened. They go out and they say, well, I've been doing M&A processes for 25 years, and now I understand why I do it, the value I bring to the table. I can write my pitch better now. Didn't really understand why we did it, but still, So I think we need to challenge them on the way they think, on the methodology, because thinking legal methodology in a business setting is not always useful, to put it nicely.
Yeah. I like this, that talking to clients is something that we have been talking about a long time, but actually it's more about listening to them, understanding the business, putting yourself in their situation, understanding why they don't sleep at night.
Their pains.
Yeah, their pains. Do you see that often, Harry?
I do, and I see it at three distinct different levels. One is speaking to the clients, just like you said, and actually listening to them. And sometimes that also means, and there's a big movement into the legal sector. I've been in this business long enough to know that it happened before, and now it's happening in a big way, of the big accounting firms moving in. One leg up they have over a law firm is they're just filled with consultants with specific expertise in business. Okay? Now, you may not think that that's very important if you're going to deliver legal services, but it's crucial in getting the client to have confidence in you. So I'm wondering if law firms might not start making an investment in bringing on consultants who are specialized in certain areas of business so that they can compete on the same level playing field. And then I want to give you 2 examples where your customers and clients are actually talking to you. Sometimes it's explicit and sometimes it's implicit. For example, GDPR is implicit. So if you think about GDPR and how it applies to how we need to treat each other in terms of marketing, etc., all of your clients have an expectation that you're going to adhere to that. So it is without question that that is a requirement. That is something your clients expect of you, to have made the investments to ensure that you are complying with GDPR, just in terms of the relationship that you have with them. And then there are other more express ways. For example, there are clients of yours who, for example, will not tolerate risking their sensitive information being stored outside the law firm. Okay? Sometimes it's contractual, etc. So they're speaking to you directly. And that has a huge impact on your choices of technology, of course, right? So if you have clients and customers who say, I can't allow you to house any information about me that's not under your control, that might change the decisions that you make. But it all goes back to actually listening to the client. And in order to listen to your clients, I'm just wondering if we need to go to those meetings with more than just legal expertise, if we need some commercial expertise in the law firms as well. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Also, sometimes if I get this answer from my partners that my clients don't ask for it, I say that don't risk that they don't ask for it, but they just walk to your competitor. Because the competitor is developing something, being innovative and surprising the client with something.
Funny, it's almost like what we said before. That's a case where the client just went out and jumped on something because it was new, right?
Yeah.
Bad decision.
Someone in the previous panel has said that maybe we have to put up mixed teams with marketing people, lawyers people. What about IT guys there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Potentially, there are some firms out there.
Data security is relevant to your
security,
clients?
of course.
Yes.
We're thinking about that also.
Yeah, and also working on new solutions, innovations in mixed team. I know that, Garrigues, you have a big innovation hub.
Yeah, Magnus was saying before something about the design thinking. We put in place an initiative last year. We call it Garrigues Innovation Think Tank. And we asked for volunteers, and we had like 120 people all around the firm, different ages, different positions, different geography, and using design thinking in structure. They work for 6 months in new ideas, and from that we put in place 2 new division teams in Garrigues. One is called Garrigues Startups and Innovation, and the other one is Garrigues Digital. They are close to the firm, multidisciplinary, tax, corporate law, labor law, and it came out from this innovation think tank, which is, quite funny. Yeah.
Before we move on and maybe talk about a few specific case studies very briefly, any questions from the audience?
Maybe a question to Harry. You mentioned to create a concept like business consultant and lawyer going together. Do you already see it happening in the world?
No, and I'm rather shocked by it. So where I do see it happen is there are, without naming names, there are some law firms that were born of, if you remember, there was deregulation in the late 90s that broke up some big accounting, legal alliances, etc.
Right.
The vestiges of those firms, legal firms, tend to have consultants on board. But I don't see it as a trend, and again, I'm no expert, but I really think that to compete on the same playing field, if you don't come to the meeting or to the table with actual expertise on your client's business, maybe you aren't really listening to them, or maybe they won't listen to you. So the answer is no, I just don't see it.
Yeah. I see it actually in connection with legal project management and service delivery. Unfortunately, not yet at Theiss, but I've heard great stories from American firm, and I know it happens also here in London, that legal project managers go with the clients even to pitch. And sometimes the clients then want to talk only to the legal project management person. And these are the people who can also, with process mapping and tech understanding, develop further those delivery models or processes.
So we need a project manager, a lawyer,
yes.
Business development guy, consultant.
Why don't we leave the lawyers back home and we just call and they
By the way, just to mention, we said something funny amongst ourselves out there. You know, there isn't a businessman that every businessman is going into a meeting without their lawyer present. Since you're all business development directors, maybe you should start the culture in your firms that I don't think a lawyer should be present in front of pitching a new client unless their business development director is present.
Any other questions?
I had one question. I'm from Arendt. What are your views about a new Silicon Valley law firms which are adopting artificial intelligence, and they are only artificial intelligence law firms? They have in their leadership teams kind of 1-2 retired partners, and the rest is kind of techie people. And what are your views on this kind of area?
Would you like to?
Scary.
Well, maybe scary, maybe not. You know, that might be delivering services that are of higher value to the client than we can manage as top law firms as well. But you know, there are aspects that you have to discuss, and I think they're coming to the surface as well. With who has the responsibilities and stuff like that. But apart from that, it boils down to how can you deliver service to the businesses? How can you take away frictions in their day-to-day business? Take away risk in their day-to-day business. I think that's what it boils down to. If it's made better by artificial intelligence law firm from Silicon Valley or wherever, Oslo, Norway, or wherever, it doesn't really matter. I think we have to see our role not as necessarily a legal service provider, but a business process provider, a solution provider. And it doesn't have to be artificial intelligence. We've done some solutions that are quite simple, but that we sell as tech solutions to our clients that help them structure things, that help them get insight in their legal instruments or legal documents, and bring them into an operational state. And that, can take away contract leakage by 5%, from 10 to 5%. That's a huge amount of money and makes the business run better. And that's what it's all about when at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. I think also using artificial intelligence or machine learning, mainly, it depends on the segment that you are in and the product. So there are certain product services you can use a lot, already maybe even today, and there are other things that are different from the service point of view. I'm not that type of person who is afraid of oh my God, they will take away the jobs of the lawyers. It's rather a collaboration, human and machine. And I think that it's a good trend that the repetitive things that can be automated should be automated, and the juniors should be involved in more complex work, and the seniors should go out and talk to clients and do more business development, senior lawyers partners.
I think there's a lot of hype around artificial intelligence, but I think that we need to wait at least 3 or 5 years to see real results on that. That's my point. Especially if we take into account also different languages. For example, you are from Austria, I'm from Spain. In English, everything works, but if you take it to local languages, that's a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it's a good point.
Yeah.
And artificial intelligence, I think, sometimes can best be explained that it is completely dependent on volume. So the best example is if I show a computer 1 million photographs of a dog, and then I show it a photograph of a cat, the computer will be able to instantly tell me that is not a dog. Okay? By virtue of the fact that it's seen 1 million pictures of a dog. So if you apply that to everything that you do, then, because the reason I'm saying this is many people wonder, well, where could artificial intelligence help our law firm? How could we have a better experience? Well, it's about the volume of content that the law firm produces. And how can a computer go in and scan that content and then memorize millions of bits of information and then find something that's a little out of place in something new that comes in, or something new that comes in that it hasn't seen before. So it's really that simple. There's nothing, and I think the danger, because of the word intelligence attached to it, we think robots, we think of, something that could think. No, it's just a set of rules, etc. And it's really, today, only particularly successful on huge volumes of data.
Mm-hmm. Right. Intelligence is also a good keyword. It's also a question, maybe with artificial intelligence taking over rational things, the key differentiator in the future will be emotional intelligence for lawyers. Client care, listening, hearing. So, and apparently that is something that you can improve, emotional intelligence. So. Okay, we have a question. What are the top 3 innovation in law firms? Knut, it's addressed to you.
That is a hard question. I've been thinking, looking at it for a while. It's hard to make a list of that, but I think the most important thing in order to succeed with innovation is to start a transformation of your business model from the billable hour to some kind of other way that can include the value that technology and innovation will bring to the service or the value you provide for the client. And that's been a huge task for us, making those solutions. How when the lawyers want to give them away, they add tremendous value in a company, taking down the leakage, for example, and the risk in a company with quite low-tech means. But then, we should be able to sell them at a high price. And lawyers tend to want to give them away so they can connect well with the client, so the client will bring them ordinary, old-fashioned legal work. So that is I think, one of the most important things to cultural or the change is to think of the business model in a different way. And actually, everybody that has been working with scalable products know that you can get a tremendous margin by working that way. So, and that also is by if you can showcase, the sale of technology without even billable hours, then you can say, well, we can copy this, and the cost each time doesn't rise. On a billable hour, you will always have the same cost, and by showing that, I've at least been able to create interest in transforming part of the business model. But it's more than just the billable hour. It's how you incentivize people to work and stuff like that as well.
Mm-hmm. I think that's also an interesting innovation or trend or revolution even, maybe, that we mentioned briefly, is that in the legal service delivery, not only lawyers are involved, but you have the legal project managers, the knowledge managers, legal engineers, technicians, and they work in an ideal situation or the ideal case side by side with the lawyers. I think that's also a cultural challenge in some of our some part of Europe. Definitely, I know it happens here more and more. But I think that's an interesting big revolution that you bring in non-lawyers who work with the client.
Yeah, and also following up your idea, next week I'm having a meeting together with a partner and a lawyer and me with a venture capital fund, and we have made a solution for them, a tech solution, and we're only pitching that in that meeting. No traditional legal work at all. Mm-hmm. That will come in their tender process later.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So watch, besides Silicon Valley, watch Oslo. Any other questions? Yes.
Hi, my name is Candice. I'm from a law firm in Stockholm. Just leading off to your last comment there, just how do you charge the client for that product, that bespoke product that you deliver? Do you charge them at all?
Yeah, we do. We charge them a monthly fee. Yeah, it's a software as a service, like a normal software as a service, and they pay. So far, they pay too little, in my opinion, but compared to the value it brings to their business,
But they didn't contribute to development costs or research or anything?
Well, so far we've sold enough to cover all the development costs and the investment. So from now on, you could say everything's profit. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I learned that law firms need to bring in technicians, consultants, IT people. If there are pitches, you don't have to go with lawyers, you have to go with business development people. A lot of the legal work will have been replaced in a couple of years' time by artificial intelligence. I wonder how many people here in the audience do work for law firms, but my question is, for the panel, in your view, in 10 years' time, how many people, how much percentage of the people of a law firm will still have studied law?
Yes.
I can take it. I think they will keep on learning law, but they will have to learn other things. I have that discussion with a partner of my firm last week, talking about blockchain and smart contracts. And he asked me, but are you telling me that my team are going to need to learn how to program a computer? And I said, well, you have two options. Or you teach them to program those smart contracts, or you have an IT guy doing that, but you're going to have to trust on that IT guy. So, it's a question of balance that. My point is that probably the profession of a lawyer will change, or probably the IT profession will change. But at the end, we're going to need people that understands and this new way of doing things. But definitely, it will change. That's my point.
Yeah, I think the world is changing, and a lot of new problems or things you need to work out from a legal perspective as well will have to be done also by lawyers. But I think the diversity will be higher, so maybe the percentage of people being only lawyers, at least, will be substantially lower. I'm sure that we will have and search for people with a more diverse background in the future, business, technology, and emotional intelligence maybe as well, and stuff like that. And I think we will not see the same growth in law firms that we have seen the last few years. They might, grow a little bit more, but I think it will flatten out because of a lot of the, what could I say, low-end work is already being automized. What we see legal operations being something that a lot of companies start doing that will take away a lot of the law firm business. So there are, many trends in a way that points at a lower growth, at least.
Mm-hmm. We have 5 minutes left, so just that very very quickly. Maybe we just mention a few one by one case study using technology to enhance client experience. Just one practical example.
For me, it's, I think, and any vendor can provide this for you, it's being able, as a business development director, to be able to put relationship intelligence in the lawyer's hands in a way that they can see it. Not in dashboards, not statistics, not tables and panels of where I am. I don't want to be reminded of my work. But if I come to an event and I see someone's name on a leaderboard and their speaker, and I think, geez, I think we've talked to them before, to be able to find out what that person might have meant to that law firm. Who in the law firm knows that person? Who else do we know at the company that that person works for? Is anybody going to meet them? When's the last time we talked to them? That's a game changer. Okay? Just like the mobile phone itself was a game changer, for business development to be able to push, it's almost like following the lawyer around at an event and whispering in their ear. You see it, for example, in some films. I'm thinking of The Devil Wears Prada, etc., where the PA had to whisper who it was coming up in the line, right? It's almost like that. That's so-and-so, here's why we know them, why they're valuable to us, etc.
I was trying to think out of something. Yeah, we did a piece of software, a really interesting piece of software, to convert audio and video files into text, and those videos and audios that comes from the court, and that for us to transcribe that, to put it into test, used to take a lot of time, and now with this, using artificial intelligence stuff, it's reduced by, I don't know, 60% of the time. That's something that was really interesting for us, and it helps our clients for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we've developed a product line called Kluge Omnia, which has sort of two types of products. One is solutions, digital solutions that enhance the lawyers in delivering their traditional work, like would be an artificial intelligence into a deal solution, or a deal solution that structures the process in a different way. And then, as I mentioned, on the other hand, we have what we call legal operational tools, and we have 3 of those as well. I talked about the legal corporate management portal. We have a IPR management portal as well, and that we develop versions of it. We make a roadmap for them to bring more technology and more functionality into them, to make the clients better at what they do in their day-to-day business.
We talked at the beginning, especially in connection with the importance of strategy and processes and listening to clients, so all these aspects. My example is our strategy, or an important part of our strategy, is law firm referrals. The processes, I don't know whether we can call them processes back 6 years ago, but the processes were to manage those law firm relationships is just randomly going and visiting firms and talking to people, uncoordinated. The experience of the client in this particular example, the other law firm's partner was like, hello, nice to meet you. Thanks for visiting me, but your colleague was here 2 weeks ago. So why are we? So that and that was a surprise for our partner who shared that with us. So it was a uncoordinated, chaotic management of relationships. So we knew this is a problem we have to improve. And one of the improvement was technology, client relationship management software. Of course, the other part is a team who looks after these processes now. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.